It is Sunday, Mentees. That means it's time for another Retroview. And today, I'm going to be talking about the Walking Dead hardcovers, all 16 of these. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so let's get started. This is one of the series that some of you all have been wanting me to do. I did Invincible, so this is the second Robert Kirkman series from Image. He does get a lot of love in the collected editions department, or maybe it's his choice to keep these printed. So as you can tell, each one of the numbers at the bottom is a different color. Yep, each one of the numbers down at the bottom has a different color. So let's get started and talk about The Walking Dead. We'll go ahead and look at Volume 1 with no spoilers, so this is going to be a little bit tricky, so I won't be focusing too much on each book. So here is Volume 1. We saw the spine. Here is the back. They are hardcovers with no dust jacket. Every one of the pictures in here, the art is all in black and white with these gray wash tones. So the series was created by Robert Kirkman and Tony Moore. They were friends ever since, I think, middle school. And it's weird to talk about this because actually many years ago when I had a podcast, I actually had Robert Kirkman down here in my basement with me. We interviewed him. Actually, we interviewed him a couple of times when he was small town Kentucky. Now, ever since the show came out, he's I think he even moved to Hollywood. I don't think he ever makes it to Kentucky except maybe once a year for the Walking Dead Day. So yes, Tony Moore was the co-creator. And he was on the book for 6 issues. Now, as of issue 7, this gentleman took over the book, and that's Charlie Adlard. So his style is a little bit different compared to Tony Moore. And we'll talk about why he left the book in a little bit. Let's look at the next book. So here is book 2. Most of the time they keep a zombie face in the back. That's pretty much all there is. And then one of the main characters in the front in the color of the font, while the zombies are surrounding them. So yes, Tony Moore ended up leaving the book as of issue 6. He stayed in doing the covers up to issue 24. He did the covers for the trade paperbacks, I think the first 4. So a lot of people were wondering why he left, and it was kind of a controversial thing at first. But pretty much it was because he just wanted to get other work, and he wasn't as fast as Robert Kirkman wanted him to be to keep up with a monthly schedule. So, and you can probably tell by now, Charlie Adlard's style has changed a little bit. Even like at first he was using darker inks, but now his style has actually changed a little bit. And it suits the book better, I thought. I'm a big fan of Tony Moore. I'm a big fan of what he did on Punisher, and other works that he's had at Marvel. But on this book, for some reason, Charlie's zombies always were a lot freakier than Tony's. So I was good with the change, and now we have a new artist on the book. Let's talk about this story. Man, this overview is going quick because there's 16 of these, and I can't showcase much of the art because it spoils everything. So the concept was originally created, I think, in 2002. He wanted to do the Dawn of the Dead comic book, but instead Jim Valentino was like, no, try something else, modernize it and make your own characters, that way you don't have to get any kind of copyrights or licenses. So he did, and then he pitched the idea to Image. Again, Jim Valentino rejected it. He's like, nobody wants to read about zombies. This is in 2002 again. So Robert Kirkman lied and said, oh, it's not about zombies, see, it's an alien invasion and the zombies are created by aliens. And Jim Valentino said, awesome, okay, I like that, go ahead and go with that. And then as of issues kept coming out, like issue 6, issue 7, and Robert Kirkman was asked again, what's going on by Jim Valentino? And Robert Kirkman was like, oh, that was just a lie. But by that point, the book was selling a lot better, because there weren't a lot of issue number 1s that were sold at comic book stores. Issue 2 went up a little bit, issue 3 went up a little bit. By the time they got to issue 7 and 8, it went up a lot. Now I gotta be careful as I turn through here, and let's talk about the story of The Walking Dead and what it is. Here's book 4. So The Walking Dead starts off in Kentucky. Represent. Not a lot of comic books start off in Kentucky. So it's the story of Rick Grimes, and he's a cop in Kentucky, a small town in Kentucky. He wakes up from a coma only to see that the world has turned into this zombie apocalypse. And keep in mind, he's in Kentucky, and his family is nowhere near him. So he sets off to find his family, his wife and kid, Lori and Carl. And there begins this world known as The Walking Dead. Here is Volume 5. Now, this one's going to be a little trickier to flip through because, man, each one of these has a spoilers. So it's not just about Carl and it's not just about Rick or Lori, because there's so many characters that join him on this journey. There's a lot of great characters that are introduced. But I will say the one thing about The Walking Dead that a lot of people enjoy, such as myself, is don't get too attached to these characters because they either die, get killed off, like this world that exists out there in this possible future where mankind turns on each other, even though there's these horrible creatures that are coming to eat them and turn them into zombies. Here we have Volume 6. Carl finally gets some love. So that's pretty much the basis of The Walking Dead. It's an ever-changing cast. It's Suicide Squad meets a George Romero book. That's why people really enjoy it. And it feels less about the zombies, right? It's more about the characters and how they're able to survive. And a lot of them go through several changes. A lot of horrible things happen to them. The series went from 2003 all the way until 2019. And it kind of had something called an abrupt ending. Here, let's look at the next volume. So by now, a lot of the cast has changed. It's not the same as it used to be. New characters are constantly introduced, and the characters have just gone through everything. They've tried to live in their own little town. They've tried to live in a prison, and they just try to make it out into the woods. And things just keep happening to them. Shit just keeps being thrown at these characters. And it's all about their survival. So, when I meant controversial, let's look at Book 8, and I'll talk a little bit about that. Here's Book 8. And controversial not because of something horrible that happened in it, but controversial because Robert Kirkman just decided to end the series. So much so that him and Charlie Adlard created fake covers for the ongoing series. So it was solicited that we had issues 194, 195, and 196, but it was all a lie. When issue 193 came out, there was a letter at the end from Robert Kirkman, and yes, it was triple sized, the issue was, but the letter at the end said, yeah, I'm decided to go ahead and end this series because I feel like there's not much more story to tell. I think I've told everything I was supposed to tell. I had envisioned the series going all the way to issue 300, but the characters are already at the location where I envisioned them in issue 300, so I don't know where else to do, and I don't want to do anybody an injustice. So he ended it. Like, there were a lot of people pissed off, even the retailers, because the retailers didn't know how many bookstore. I mean, this is the final Walking Dead. Let's go to the next volume. Book 9. There's my boy Negan. We'll talk about the TV show here in a second. But yeah, retailers were pissed off. They were upset that Kirkman would just pull a stunt like that. And it's a pretty cool, unexpected stunt. I mean, that's what Walking Dead is. You never know what's going to happen. You never know who's going to get killed off. You never know who's going to lose a limb, an eye, or whatever happens in the series, or who gets turned into a zombie. But that's what he wanted to do with the comic book. He wanted fans to be surprised just as much as anybody. Now, something huge happened in issue 192, but the story could have continued. And I'll have to be really careful when I'm flipping through that final volume too. And that's pretty much the controversial ending. See, I did a pretty good job not spoiling what actually happened. Here is book 10. Now, the books themselves are a little bit different, each one. All the books are sewn binding, and some have more glue than others do. But because each of the book is about 300 to the most, I think it's like 376 pages, there's really no gutter loss in these. Each of the books has this really nice, thick, glossy paper. Not that you really need it because the book is black and white with those gray tones, but it's nice that it's a nice deluxe edition. They range from $29.99 to $34.99. So I think the most expensive one is $34.99. Let's look at the next book. Here is book 11. And yep, $34.99. Skybound, by the way, is Robert Kirkman's studios. They're the ones that did Invincible, The Astonishing Wolfman, I think Battle Pope, which, of course, Tony Moore helped create Battle Pope. So you may have seen, I'm trying to be careful not showing any spoilers, but the covers are not in the front of each chapter. So what they'll do is they'll split each of the chapters up, so there are no covers in between. So you'll have chapter 21 and then the title of what it is. So this collects, for example, issues 121 to 126, and then later on chapter 22 collecting issues 127 to 132, A New Beginning, is right here with no covers. So where are the covers? Well, they're all back here in the back in these extras, and I'm trying not to showcase anything that might spoil anything, but the characters are a little hard to tell apart sometimes. So here are all the covers, and they also include the covers to the trade paperbacks, because even those covers to the trade paperbacks are a lot different. Yeah, these right here. And they all have this connecting covers. That's what they have. So like this is volume 21 and volume 22 connect. Now, let's look at the next volume. Book 12. Getting to the ending. So I know I've been asked on the channel, why don't I showcase these books? Why don't I ever talk about them? And I'll be 100% honest with you. And this is going to sound blasphemous, but I've never been a big fan of it. To me, it's okay. I will say that for some damn reason, though, I find myself opening it up and reading it from cover to cover every time I get one in, or when I used to get them in once a year. Cover to cover, no lie. And then I would complain about it. I'm like, I don't care about any of these damn characters. Why do I care if they die? I don't get the love of this series. I never did. I mean, more power to you if you do. That's awesome. I'm not shitting on anybody's love for the book or the story or the characters. It's just my own personal opinion that I never really got into the book. I think, to me, there were other better horror survivor stories out there, whether in movies or in manga or in comics. This one was just okay. And part of the reason was because I really didn't connect with any of the characters. And I know there are several people that do, that love the series, that love the characters, that get attached to the characters. But there's a couple of exceptions, right? There's always got to be a couple of exceptions. The first character for me, number one, is the comic book version of Tyreese. I think he got really... They downplayed the character. And I love the actor that played him in the TV show. He was Cuddy in The Wire. But anyway, Michonne, of course, I love her. I think she's a great character. And Abraham. And I think those three were the only characters that I really cared about or got attached to within the whole series. Here is book 13. And I know it's really weird because I don't like any of the main characters. I guess Michonne's a main character. Yeah, but there is no Daryl in the comic books. And I know people love Daryl. Well, if you're expecting a Daryl in the comics, he's not here. That relationship was actually Tyreese and Rick at first, and they kind of, in the TV show, they changed it over to Daryl to give him more lines because he was such a, I guess, a crowd favorite. But so let's talk about that. Yeah, in 2010, Robert Kirkman decided to make a TV show. He worked with AMC and Frank Darabont, one of my favorite freaking movie directors and writers, and they did season 1 of Walking Dead, and I loved it. I thought it was great. It had potential to be better than the comic book. And then AMC decided, let's move on to the next book. Here is book 14, Not Daryl. That is Dwight. Even though he's got a crossbow. I see what you're doing there, Kirkman Image. But yes, AMC decided to pull the money from season 2. And Frank Darabont said, no, the ideas and script that I have call for this amount of money, and I need it in order to do the show proper and do it justice. And they said no. So they found a new showrunner. So Frank Darabont left after season 1. And the new showrunner did the Where's Sophia episodes. Where's Sophia? Where's Sophia? Which is Carol's daughter. And Carol's a lot different in the TV show than she is in the comic books. And yeah, that's all I remember from season 2. So I kind of stopped watching the show. Volume 15. And I did lie. There is one more character that I cared about. And that is Negan. And that's actually why I returned to the show. I was wondering how they would treat Negan, the character of Negan, because I was like, there's no way in hell that they could do the character justice. Just how vulgar and nasty he is. But, yeah, they really weren't able to do it justice. So I gotta be careful when I'm flipping through here. And they kind of toned his character down too. So yeah, I don't watch Walking Dead anymore. Know or Fear the Walking Dead. And the final volume. No zombie in the back. The unexpected final volume. So this is the only one that collects 13 issues, not 12. All the other ones collect 12. This is also $34.99. And I'm going to be really careful when I flip through here, just flipping through the very first boring talking pages. So, yeah, I mean, he has built an empire, regardless of how I feel about the TV show or the comics. Like, he has built an empire. There's video games. There's not just one TV show. There's Fear the Walking Dead. There's web episodes. And, yeah, the Telltale games, the video games, were actually, those were really damn good. But like I said, regardless of how I felt about the series, I would still read them every year that I would get these hardcovers. That's how I would keep up with them. And here ends The Walking Dead. That's it. That's all 16 volumes. Hope I didn't spoil anything. I don't think I did. Now, since these books are evergreen, that means they're always printed and kept in print. You can purchase them from our sponsor,
cheapgraphicnovels.com, your online home for brand new graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off the cover price. Cheap Graphic Novels prides itself on packaging your books so they arrive safely and in excellent condition, as well as prompt and helpful service. And check out their bargain bin for even greater deals up to 90% off cover price. And for you minties, Cheap Graphic Novels is running a special promotion. If you're a first-time customer, let them know you were referred by Near Mint Condition at the checkout, and you'll receive a credit for free shipping on your next order. Now, this is only for U.S. customers. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discounts, quality shipping, and customer service that will keep you coming back for more.
And that was it. That was all 16 of these books. Well, I did a really quick overview of each one, but still, you kind of get the idea. And let me know in the comments down below how you have the story collected, whether you have the single issues, whether you have the trade paperbacks, the hardcovers like these, the library editions, the compendiums, or the box set. Regardless of how you collected it, I would love to know all that in the comments down below, and what you thought about the story, what you thought about the ending. Some people were upset. But anyway, leave those comments down below. This was the Uncanny Omar. Thank you very much for watching. And please remember, everybody stay healthy, stay safe out there, and much love to you all.